How are you? Hello. Hi, howdy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new, welcome. I hope to earn your subscription today. That's a hard word. So I have had a few specific requests for a simple video on an oil change. So that's what today's video is. I understand if you've done this 100 times or 1,000,000 times, whatever, and you're not interested, feel free to skip on along. But like I said, I've had some requests and I'm going to oblige. So let's get to it. All right, so when you're going to be doing your oil change, there's a couple of must-haves, and then everything from there is kind of optional. So first, you're going to need your oil filter. You're going to need your oil. Before you purchase any oil, I suggest you look up Before you purchase any oil, I suggest you look up how many quarts your vehicle requires and what type. Also take into account if your vehicle is high mileage or not. Mine is absolutely high mileage, so that's what we're using. Now, here in the great state of Arizona, in the wintertime, I use the recommended oil for my engine, which is 530. During the summer, I actually use 1030. That's because our summer temperatures are extremely hot compared to most other places in the country. And if you're doing anything like off-roading or towing a trailer or anything like that, it's very hard on your engine and therefore very hard on your oil. So when it comes to oil filters, there's two primary types. There's a normal spin-on, and this is a metal filter. It has, it's a metal housing. The filter is inside. And then you have something that's called a cartridge filter, where your vehicle has a cartridge in some form or another, plastic or metal, that you actually put a filter in. And those look something like this. There's no cover on it, obviously, because the part of your car is what is taking that place. So this is just the filter element. This is one after an oil change off of a Mini. All right. So some other things you're going to want to have is some form of an oil filter wrench. Don't ever use it to put your oil filter on, but very often you're going to need something to take it off. I use this guy. I will provide a link in the description for it. There are several different kinds. There's also, if you have a cartridge filter, more often than not, it's going to have some kind of a nut-shaped thing on the lid, and you're going to need probably a significantly sized socket for that. I believe for the Mini Cooper, it's a 34 or 36 millimeter, and they had to be shallow to fit in to get to it. So anyway, that's beyond the point. Some other things you probably are going to want is an oil catch can, a catch basin, whatever you want to call it, somewhere for your used oil to drain into. If you have one of these that you can clean up and put caps on everything, most auto parts stores, you can bring that into them and they will pour it in a big tank they've got in the back and dispose of your used oil safely and environmentally friendly. Something else that I've been wanting for a while and I just got are these little things. They're kind of a form-fitting. You shape them how you want them. And it's for vehicles like mine where the oil from the filter drains right on top of a cross member and makes just a giant mess. So we're going to try using that, stick it up there and drain the oil from the filter when it comes out into the catch basin and not all over the bottom of the truck. All right. I think I've covered everything I need to cover right now. So let's get down there and get started. All right, so on my truck, my oil filter is up here, up there. All right, so I'm going to try to do all of this where you can see it. Got my little thingamajigger here. I will provide a link for that as well. Thingamajigger is not the official name, just so you're aware. So, like everything else on most vehicles, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This is why we say not to put it on with tools. This was put on by hand, and it's fighting this much. All right, feels like it's gonna move now. That's all you're gonna need that oil filter wrench for. Set it aside. All right, so what we're gonna do is start unscrewing this, and as soon as it starts making drippy, we're gonna stick this thing up under there. Ooh, okay, maybe we'll do it before. Got my catch can, catch basin, whatever you want to call it, right here. I think there's a more expensive version of this attached to my neck. That would probably be ideal. There we go. Yep, that is definitely ready for an oil change. Excuse me. I kind of expected there to be more, because usually there's such a huge mess. No, that's it. Okay. You always want to take, just a little drop of oil. I use the old oil. You can use fresh new oil, but just take a little bit of it, put it on the rubber seal for the new filter. This keeps it from, 100% gluing itself to your engine. And then you just spin it back on by hand and snug it down. Don't get crazy with it. You just want to make sure it's not going to come unscrewed between oil changes. There we go. All right, we're done with the filter completely. Old one's out, new one's on. Now we're going to move on to the oil pan itself. All right, so when it comes to actually finding your oil pan, it's going to be the one that's attached directly to the bottom of your engine. So I don't know if you can see the other pan back there, but that's for the transmission. This is a classically, rear-wheel drive vehicle, so everything is in a line. So the very front regular pan is the oil pan. The next one is transmission for automatic transmission. My drain plug is a 16 millimeter or 5/8. Don't let anybody tell you that they're not the same, because they are. So we're going to crack that loose. We're going to bring our catch can closer. So you always want to leave a little extra distance, whichever direction the oil appears that it's going to flow, because it's got pressure on it from all the fluid on top. So initially it's going to shoot out in that direction a decent amount. And then as the flow gets lower, it's going to come, mostly straight down. So if you have a long pan like this one, you can make accommodation for both of those in, one location. So we're going to go ahead and screw this out. I have a metal, well, I guess they're all metal. I have a steel oil drain pan, or oil pan, geez. So the drain plug has a little rubber gasket on it. Most modern vehicles have either a plastic pan or an aluminum pan, and they require something special called a crush washer. If you have questions about that, I would definitely look into that further, but that's kind of a little bit of a rabbit hole that I don't want to chase down. So I've unscrewed the bolt as far as it'll go. You see I'm still holding it in there. When I pull it out, that's going to be the gush fluid. All right, so here we go. And we let her drain. You don't have to get every little last drop of oil out, but I figure it's my vehicle and I'm not in a time crunch, so might as well. It's kind of like watching paint dry. It's the action movie of watching paint dry, because there's actually something happening. All right, that's enough. You just take your drain plug, put it back in the hole, screw it in. Like I was saying, this drain plug has a rubber gasket that's part of the drain plug, so once it's tightened, it creates a seal. Now, also, kind of a controversial point for some people, I guess, you do not need to put a ton of ooga-doogas or torque on these drain bolts. If the bolt is good and the pan is good, it just takes just a little bit. I didn't quite get it screwed in all the way. My greasy fingers. Oily fingers, oily fingers. You can do this with a ratchet, of course. I just find normally it's easier with a wrench. All right. So now it's snug. I'm just going to give it a little tug. And that's it. It's done. Anything from here on, under here, is just cleanup. And what I do is use a bit of brake parts cleaner, spray off that oil. You don't have to, but I like to know if I have an oil leak and it's not just something I left there from an oil change. We are done under the car completely. All right, so up here on the top of the engine is where you're going to find your oil fill. And it should be designated by something that says engine oil, or it might just have that little symbol. But either way, every engine's got one. This one is a pretty large size cap. I'm not exactly sure why they did that. These are also really hard to open once they're not brand new anymore. So I already cracked it loose and everything. So just pop our lid off. Yes, it looks pretty nasty in there. I need to just get a new one because you can't really clean that out. And then I recommend everybody own a giant red funnel. They are great. They are awesome. My engine takes 5.8 quarts, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the full 6 in. Let me see if I can put you guys back on the gimbal and you can watch that exciting process. All right, looking right down the hole. Awkward. I hope you can't hear my neighbor coughing to death. So we've got a big 5-quart jug here. Okay. And then we have our little 1-quart jug. There we go. Oil's in. Everything's done but the minute details. But were you to have an emergency, you could throw your cap on there right now, not suffer any consequences for it. I suggest having your oil catch pan close by when you pull your funnel off because it's still going to be dripping and you want to have somewhere for that to drip safely and keep everything clean. I always move quickly from this position to the pan, therefore it doesn't drip all over the vehicle. And then we'll put our cap back on. Okay. On this truck, that's it. We're done. So on newer vehicles, from like 2002, 2005, somewhere in that area and newer, most of them have an engine oil life monitoring system. A lot of them are not actual monitors. It just calculates, the wear and tear that your car's gone through and calculates that to oil life percentage. When it reaches 0, obviously, you're pretty much overdue for an oil change at that point. And, some cars, it doesn't have a readout like that. It just throws on a little light or whatever. But each individual car is different. So you're going to have to look up the procedure for that. Most of them are really easy. So don't stress about, how hard it's going to be to reset. It's really not. It's usually like find something in a menu, push a button, or push the brake pedal 3 times or something like that, and it's going to be reset to 100%. But anyway, other than that, that's it. I hope this was at least educational. I hope you enjoyed it. And please give me a thumbs up, like it, share it, comment. If you comment at least 7 words, that'll actually show the algorithm that I'm getting meaningful engagement. I don't know. Tell me I'm ugly. I don't care. As long as it's 7 words. Other than that, take care. I love you. Bye. Let's get to it. Me. Ain't you being a cheeky fucker?